All right, everybody, welcome. It's Wednesday, a little late stream, a little later than normal, 5 p.m., actually 5:14 to be exact. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Yo. There it is. Little Arkansas basketball red-white scrimmage going on tonight. That's really exciting. That's always fun. It's that time of year, man. It's here. It is here. Now I know we're still a little ways away from game one. Little ways away. We're getting there though. We're crawling. 16 days. They're gonna play on Friday in Bud Walton Arena, which will be cool. We don't have we'll find out more, but another exhibition matchup against UT Tyler. And then October 28th, they're going to take on Purdue. So you got like a little gap there. You got 8 days, and then you've got Purdue for a charity exhibition game inside Bud Walton. No idea how. I mean, I'm sure they're going to take it serious. Do you know Musselman to not take a game serious? But he's probably still going to approach it like an exhibition as well, and maybe to him it's just going to be like, I'm sure he'll say it's like a regular game. You know, we're going to see some guys. And I think that's going to be the same thing with UT Tyler. I really do. Like, they're going to get a big – well, let's hope they get a big lead. But tonight we got the red-white scrimmage. We'll get into that. We're also going to talk a little bit about what Sam had to say. I don't have video this time. I did not get it completely chopped up in time. I had a lot kind of going on this evening, so I was unable to chop it all up. Although I did chop one really cool part out of Sam Pittman's talk with the media earlier today on the Zoom call Wednesday. Someone's going to come in here and spoil it, so I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys. Check this out. Check it out. Here we go. This was the one thing I was able to chop up here.
Last one, Ty.
Yo, what's going on, Coach? I just had a question about Dominic Johnson. I know he was obviously you guys moved him to tight end in 21, and he's back there again. I just kind of wanted to get your assessment so far on him this week.
Well, excuse me. He's not totally back there. We have some 20 package where we can have availability of him playing at the tight end position. But you're right that we experiments with it, I think 2 or maybe 3 years ago, and then we got a running back hurt, and then he came in and does such a wonderful job. But we are looking at that in some situations. I just want to make sure that we all know that he hadn't moved to tight end permanently, that we are looking at some 20 package where he could be in a tight end position, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Coach.
Good job. You're welcome.
All right, so that obviously didn't come out of my mouth right. What I meant to say, and I did this on Twitter. I put it out there on Twitter. What I meant to say was you have Dominic Johnson or Dominic Johnson working with the tight ends this week, and you've done so before. Just was curious where he was at in his progression and what maybe what your take is based on what you saw this week. Did not come out of my mouth like that at all. I even gave him the yo. What's going on? I gave him the yo. I gave Coach Pitt the yo. So that was pretty neat. That's the first time I've ever asked a question. First time ever. So it was a pretty neat moment. Not gonna lie, I was nervous. I was really, really nervous. But I typically what I do is I'm there to just listen to what's being asked and listening to what Sam has to say. And then obviously I get the transcript later and I can go over it. But I was really curious about Dominic Johnson. And no one had asked it yet, so I thought, well, and what's funny is they had already closed out the Zoom, or like they had already, Kyle, the SID, had already was like, all right, wrap us up. I think it was Bob Holt. Wrap us up, Bob. And then right when he said that, I raised my hand on Zoom. So I was very happy they took my question. So there you go. It was pretty neat, man. Pretty cool. I've got to do some really cool things over the last year and a half. Got to do some really cool things. Walking out on the field or on the sidelines before kickoff, being up in the press box, going to practices. It's pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's cool. Can you explain how the pressers work? Can you see when asking? Can he see you when asking questions? Does he answer questions before they start recording, or does he come straight in and they start? Yeah, I mean, it's basically he sits down. I don't know if you've ever been on Zoom. I only use Zoom for those. Other than that, I wouldn't have a Zoom. But yeah, he comes in, he sits down, and you'll hear the U of A communications team will hit the record button, and it'll say recording in progress, and that's when on your end you need to hit the record button. So you do, and he just you just ask. They typically have no idea what you're about to ask. They did ask me beforehand, and I think it's because they had already wrapped up questions, and I raised my hand right as Kyle said we were wrapping up the football SID, and he wanted to know what I was going to ask. That's the only time I've ever seen that. Either that or they knew it was my first time asking a question. They wanted to be like, all right, Ty, come on. You're usually here to just listen. But, yeah. That's usually how it is. Yeah, he comes in, he sits down, and then we all just hit the record button for those of us who post this stuff. I no longer post Pittman Zoom calls. I did a couple times last year. The audio has been an issue. It's gotten better, but since I got out of the habit of uploading the Zooms, I don't want to get back in the habit of doing it because I already stopped. I don't like to just do that and then stop and then do it again. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But Pittman gave us some pretty good information there. So Dominic Johnson, again, what I was trying to say, or what I was trying to ask was, you had him working with the tight ends. I didn't mean to suggest that he was with the tight ends or that he's now a tight end, which he's clearly not. But it sounds like they're going to try and work him in there a little bit. We might see Dominic Johnson in that situation where he's kind of in that role where maybe we saw Luke Has, on the field at tight end. We might see some of that. At this point, and I want to be perfectly clear, it's almost like it's time to rip the warning label off. You saw him, that video I think it was Mason Choate who shared the video footage of Pittman working with the offensive lineman a little bit. Not really working with, but he was walking around kind of observing the offensive line. Now, I wasn't there Tuesday. I don't know if he was with the offensive lineman or not. I haven't read any reports. Maybe he did. Maybe he did spend a lot of time with the offensive line. But you saw that video, and he's swearing. I think he said something like, "We're the University of blank in Arkansas," right? I've heard him swear before at practice. There's some people who are like, "Oh, that's he's getting the troops all ready to go. That's what we need." Guys, he does that. I mean, that's not the first time. That's just the first time that the audio's been picked up and someone published it. I have caught coaches swearing. I mean, they're coaches. I mean, come on, man. I mean, high school coaches, I've heard – I remember what my coaches said and the stuff that was yelled out. Now, some of that would not be considered PC, and they might get canceled in today's world, because everyone's soft like Charmin. But that's not new. Pittman, I will say it's not common. I have seen Pittman stop fastball and swear at the offensive line. I've seen that before. So, again, anyone who if any other media who goes says they've never heard that before, I have. I've heard it at least once, or one other time where Pittman dropped some F-bombs. All right. That's coaching. It's what they do. That's right. Joe DC says the biggest question of the basketball season for me is so we get great Devo all year or not. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a good question. I would like to see some consistency out of Devo this year, but again, I think it's so big that he's back. I mean, the experience, the understanding of what Musselman wants out of these guys. All right, let's get to some more Pittman real quick. Let's. Where's my dadgum email? Here we go. Someone asked him, I think this was maybe Bob Holt that asked this question. Rocket shaking off rust. Pittman responds, "We're hoping so." Anytime you're a little rusty, which I felt like he probably was last week, and not totally 100%, you're not going to be able to play as good as you normally would. I believe the knee is feeling much better than it did last week. Obviously, he played and made a nice run on the screen and things of that nature. Anytime you have problems with an injury, a lot of times confidence in your mind goes towards the injury more than towards the performance. That's actually a really good answer. I think by being hit and all those things, he probably feels a lot better about it. He's had a good week. So yeah, I can't. I mean, obviously, I never played college ball. I have no idea what it's like to get hit at that level. I did crush my hand in high school. My sophomore year, I crushed my hand in welding class. Yeah, my 10th grade year. A barrel of metal. Luckily, I didn't catch all the weight, but some of the weight shifted and the barrel tipped, and the barrel crushed my hand. Well, I had to have 3 fingers. In fact, I still have scars. I don't know if you could see that or not. I still have permanent scars. My hand was in a splint, and that was weird. I had to wrap up my hand. I was told I couldn't practice for that week, even though I wanted to. I was told I couldn't, and then the next week I came back, and it is weird. Even just a week, it was weird. And obviously, as an offensive lineman, you're using your hands. You're blocking. You're grabbing. Let's be real. Anyone who played offensive line, I was coached, get underneath the shoulder pads and kind of hide those hands in there, dig in deep. It was really hard to do that. It was really weird. Obviously, it's a different thing. He's got knee issues. I was 16 years old with a crushed hand, at Fayetteville. Can't even compare the two. He's at a much higher level. I can't imagine, in a different position. And he's got to use his knee. Obviously, I got to use my hands, but I do remember I missed like almost full 2 weeks of practice. They just did not want to risk, any further injury. The school doesn't want to be, I'm sure some of that was the school didn't want to be held responsible. So it's not like I was a key missing piece to the sophomore team or anything like that. But we had a swinging door at center that year. But yeah, I mean, it was weird getting back to practice. It was kind of weird, and I didn't really trust my hand as much. And it kind of, I'm not gonna lie to you, it kind of discouraged me a little bit. And from that point on, it was a struggle for me. But then I kind of bounced back a little bit. But so to their point about Roger, to Sam's point about Rocket, that is something to consider. That's the swelling on the knee. How much of last week really was shaking off the rust. And we still got to see Rocket at full speed. Like or as close to it as he's been all year. And again, the offensive line was trending in a good direction in terms of run blocking and opening up gaps. We saw it for a couple of consecutive weeks. Now, obviously not against good defenses. Devin Manuel hurt or good to go. Sam says he's going to be fine. We're going to rest him. So I guess he didn't dress out on Tuesday, or they didn't see him out there in fastball. Maybe I don't know. I wasn't there, but regardless, he wasn't working in fastball. So Pittman says he'll be fine. We're going to rest him. Yes, to answer your question, he's been dealing with injuries all year, but we're going to rest him a little bit, just to have him available for Saturday. We may rest him today and practice him tomorrow, but we need him available. So we're going to do the best we can to get him there. Shamar Easter. Okay, I stand by, if that dude were here during the spring, I don't know what, I wish he was here during the spring. Again, I know, I think his situation, I could be wrong. I really need to reach out to someone about this, but not that it really matters. He's here. That's what matters now. But I don't know that his high school let them, like there might be an availability thing, like they don't have it within their set of rules to allow a kid to graduate high school early and then to go ahead and start college the following semester. I don't know if that's the case or not. I remember his commitment status was also a little wonky there for a little bit, but he was asked about Shamar Easter. Shamar Easter, will he have a shot to play later in the year with Luke's injury? Pittman says there's always a possibility, but there are some other guys over there. I like Maddox Lassiter. He's the preferred walk-on from Warren. I like him a lot. Shamar's going to be a really fine player for us. He's just not ready to do any of those things that you're talking about, but he's going to be a really good player for us in the future. Shamar Easter's not going to see the field. I would be shocked if we saw this dude take the field this year, and that sucks because he is watching his film, talking to people who got to watch him, talking to some other media people. This dude has the potential. I mean, you talk about how great Luke Has is, and you guys know I've always been on the Luke Has train. Shamar Easter potentially could have as high of a ceiling, and one person told me they thought he had a higher ceiling, and this is someone who watched him play. I really, it's just the case of him. Listen, I watched the tight ends quite a bit on Monday. I've watched them through fall camp and week to week. I've kind of kept my eye on the tight ends a little bit because that is an interesting group. He does not look like a tight end, man. He looks like a string bean compared to the rest of those guys. He's got to put on, I think, a little bit more weight. I don't know what they have him down for in weight. And again, I'm not saying he's puny. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not trying to say that he's just not, whatever. He's not got that typical tight end physique yet. And I don't know that he has the strength yet to play that position. So I think had he been here during the spring, they could have started that, changing his physique a little bit. They could have gotten a head start in the weight room and just the conditioning. There's some kid like screaming right outside my door. Man, that is loud. I don't know if y'all can hear that. That is so loud. It sounds like they're right outside my door. What was I saying? Had Shamar Easter been here during the during spring, I think they would have had a good firm head start. And I've also been told that the blocking is probably something that they're still a little bit concerned about. And does he have it in between the ears just yet? Right? You got to learn the offense and know the system. So, man, they asked about Dwight McLaughlin. Is he making progress? And what's that sound outside the house? Do you? Can I call Kennedy? Oh no, not right now. They were asked about Dwight McLaughlin. They asked about Dwight McLaughlin if he was going to play. Sam Pittman says not as great a progress that I'd like for him to. We still don't know if he'll be available on Saturday or not, but I wish he'd heal up a little faster. Doesn't sound like Dwight McLaughlin. If he does play, he's not going to get a lot of time. Hopefully, little fella is okay. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if y'all could hear that. It sounded like bloody murder. That was the loudest kid I have ever heard in my life. I knew it wasn't one of mine. Oh, man. Yeah, it'd be nice if I had a professional studio, that had thick walls and everything, but you can only do so much. I don't hear it now, so we're good. So, yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer for Dwight, really hoping to get him back. And what else was there? There was they talked about Kiffin using the portal, and Pittman just kind of alluded to it being the future, that Lane Kiffin, he actually, I don't want to say he took a jab. He didn't take a jab at Sanders at prime time, but he did say, Lane Kiffin's been doing that for a little bit. He says, but I'm going to fast forward here. Even everybody is talking about Coach Deion Sanders did at Colorado, but Lane's really done that the last couple of years. The numbers haven't been quite as big, obviously, but he's done that, and it's a new trend in football. It is, man, and I'm telling you, it's going to have quite the impact on high school football recruiting. I wonder if we don't get to a point, unless the NCAA doesn't, intervene. And I don't know that I want them to intervene. I mean, really, I know some of you guys do. I prefer that they don't, but I wonder if what we see is just like the top half of the 4 and 5 stars, they get to go to the school, whatever, they go to They still go to the Alabamas and the Michigans and the Ohio States and so on and so forth, the Georgias. You kind of wonder how this cuts into maybe some of the smaller schools. Maybe they get a piece of the 4-star prospects. I don't know about the 5 stars. You never know. I mean, again, you see what Primetime's doing in Colorado, but who was it that signed the big 4-star? There was some little school. There was some little school I remember reading about. They signed like the biggest prospect ever. It was a 4-star just this last recruiting cycle. So I kind of wonder. I wish I could remember who that was. Was it Tulsa? I want to say it was a school in Texas, maybe North Texas or Texas State. Someone signed a big 4-star, and so again, I kind of wonder if we're going to see more of that. Maybe because the bigger schools are going to start, they're catching on. They're seeing what Lane has done at Ole Miss, and they're seeing what Primetime's done at Colorado. And it's not like it's new to them. I mean, they've always known, but they start to see the success that they have. I mean, look at Ole Miss, guys. They're in position to win the West. I mean, they're in position to win the West. Even though they lost to Bama, who knows if Bama doesn't fall apart. I still think Bama ends up taking the West, but Ole Miss is in a really good position, and a lot of that has to do with not only Lane Kiffin and the offense, but what they've done in the portal. I think that's really about all. Okay. So anyways, that's all I'll read from the transcript. I apologize I didn't get the video cut up this week. Sometimes I just don't have the time. Let me read chat here really quick. Do we have let's see. At this point, why isn't it all hands on deck? Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I don't know. How much trouble are we in, Ty? Do we even go bowling this season? Jack, I don't know what the path is to go bowling. I really don't. I mean, it's a tall order at this point. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. I get told, I've had an LSU fan tell me how negative I am. Been going back and forth with that guy. That's been a lot of fun, actually. And he's at least somewhat civil. Most LSU fans would, they take jabs at like the weight or whatever. Sometimes it's kind of funny. Most of the times it's not. It's just not good. It's not good. It's just they're not funny. Like I'm a grown man. I can handle the jokes, but this guy is actually somewhat civil. But he didn't like that I called LSU not elite. Now he also thought I was being a little too harsh on Arkansas. But I mean, like I said then to his comment, I tell you what I see, and that BYU loss has set you up for a losing streak that we always knew could possibly happen. We just didn't see BYU walking in to Fayetteville. Especially at 6:30 at night against one of the top 10 largest crowds, and to see BYU come in and just grab the bag and leave. So now that sets you up in this situation where, these losses to LSU and A&M may not be – they're still bad, don't get me wrong, but because of that BYU loss, that feels like that's where you struck the iceberg. And now you've got LSU. You're starting to sink a little bit. You're taking on water, Captain. They said she was unsinkable, but she's sinking. They said I was one of them. The ship was unsinkable. And I was wrong. It's taking on water. I don't know. Here's what's crazy. Here's what's absolutely nuts, and I think we might see this year. Come at me all you want. I could see this being a year where Arkansas upsets somebody and they find a way to get to 6 wins. I mean, this is how the NIL transfer portal era is, and ever since the 2020s, it just feels like we hit a light switch and everything changed. We're in another dimension. You never know what the hell these teams are going to do. Ole Miss's defense, and again, we'll talk about it on Friday, but their defense it's shit. It's bad. It's not good. In Arkansas's offense, it's like, whose stock are you buying? I mean, obviously, Ole Miss's offensive stock is the stock you're buying, but who would you bet on to have a worse game, the Ole Miss defense or the Arkansas offense? I don't know. But maybe you find a way to get an upset here. Maybe you go to Tuscaloosa and you find a way to get an upset, and then lose to Mississippi State. and then lose to like FIU and Mizzou. It's that kind of year. It feels like that. You know, you're going to win some games you just have no business losing. Or maybe we're overreacting to the BYU, LSU, A&M loss because Pittman has figured it out. Maybe that's something that happens. I'm not saying that it does. I'm just laying it all out there. At the moment, I don't know how the hell you get to 6 wins. I don't know how you do it. I have a hard time seeing 4. I mean, I'm sorry, 5. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. I have a hard time seeing 5. I have a real hard time seeing 5. I do see 4. And I know everyone's like, oh, well, there's a path. Well, of course, there's always a path. There's always a path. Especially when you have the kind of talent that you have on your roster. That's the statement. That's the article. That's the answer to the question. Well, what's the path? Well, you've got the talent to win 6. And how badly you've underperformed, I mean, that just tells you something, like something's going on. And it is a reflection on coaching. And yes, I know some people have been, pulling up video and blaming execution on the field. And yeah, absolutely. As Stephen Hamner and I said, by the way, if you guys haven't watched it yet, if you're a Patreon supporter, we have a Patreon-only video between myself and Stephen Hamner from QB Spotlight. We kind of break down a little bit of what he's seen so far. He kind of gives us what he thinks. He went a little further than I thought he would, because, well, I shouldn't say more than I thought he would. He did a really good job of breaking down what he was seeing. And what I mean to say is I know that he's like me. He saves a little bit for his channel too, and he does. He put out a video, I think today, actually talking about the situation at Arkansas. So go watch that video as well. But if you're a Patreon supporter, go check out what he had to say about KJ and Dan Enos. But yeah, so and I stand by what I said too. If he wins 5, I think it's 100% he comes back. Should he? I don't know. Well, I kind of already spoke on that a little bit. I think year 4, 11 regular season wins in 2 years after 4 seasons. I don't know, man. That's should you keep your job? I don't know, because that's not exactly an upwards trend. I said no, but I don't know. The more you look into it and think about it, depending on what kind of changes, because we all know in the offseason, unless they completely turn this thing around, unless they open up the offense and play to KJ's strengths, they just ditch whatever the hell Dan Enos has been trying to run, and maybe you look up a little bit about the veer and shoot. Maybe you find those plays somewhere. Open up that playbook a little bit, figure out what makes KJ tick, what makes KJ tick, but you're halfway through the year, man, and you're just now, they're shuffling up front on the offensive line. He talked about that on Monday. They're going to shuffle some guys around. I hesitate to even guess. I know Trey Biddy kind of laid it out for him a little bit, and Sam replied like, yeah, that's what we're looking to do. But I'm going to wait until Saturday, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about that on Friday too, but I'm going to wait till Saturday to really, because I have no idea what they really do, but I kind of wonder about Wiggins. I was actually going to ask about Wiggins. Does he have an opportunity of playing this weekend, He shouldn't come back at 5. I did say no. I did say year 4, if you can't get to 6. But I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I'm torn. I don't know. It starts up front, Ty. You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. Ty, do you think Sam wants the buyout? I have no idea, man. It'd be pure speculation on my end. All right, let's get into the good stuff, huh? Let's talk about the positives. By the way, don't forget Super Chat is up and rolling. Super Chat. Worst case scenario, Sam just keeps winning 5 to 6 games a year and never gets over the hump. Yeah. Well, they accused Houston out of being too bland at 8 wins. You guys remember that? I mean, he won his last 2 years. What was his win total? Was it 18? And they canned him. You would take that in a heartbeat right now. Isn't that crazy how that works out? But at the same time, you had 10 years, right? That's a different scenario, and it's not fair to compare. Oh, my goodness, you guys. I'm so excited about basketball. Yeah, Red White Showcase is going to be happening in less than an hour. So, obviously, if you're here, you're either on your way to the game. It's in Barnhill. It's in good old Barnhill Arena, where I attended my very first college anything game was inside Barnhill Arena. I love that place. I hope they keep it up forever. I mean, yeah, Bud Walton is Bud Walton. All right, we get it. It's wonderful. I've told that story of sneaking into those buildings when I was in sixth grade, fifth and sixth grade. When I went to Jefferson after school, we'd leave Jefferson Elementary. We'd take a bus to the youth center, which back then the old Fayetteville Youth Center, which was right next to the Fayetteville High football field. We would sneak out of the youth center, me, Nathan, and Jeremy. And we would sneak into the buildings, and we snuck into Bud Walton because it was only like 2 years old, and then of course we'd sneak in Barnhill. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I guess it was the '90s. Nobody cared. These are three kids running around. In the Union, they had in the student union building, whatever, they had a Mortal Kombat 3 arcade. And we would sneak in and play the hell out of that. And they had like their own theater. It was crazy. Anyways, red-white scrimmage, 6:30. It's going on soon. If you're going, enjoy. Let us know what's going on. There's no streaming of this thing, which sucks, but then they're going to give us Purdue. So the charity, again, we talked about that earlier, Charity Expedition, 3 p.m. That will be, we get that. I wish we had access to this. No Pinto ESPN. Poor service inside Barnhill Arena. Hey, shout out to our sponsors, Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. They offer same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, better than best results. You know it. I've talked about it 100 times. They put it in my door, and I love it. You can actually see the picture of my new door in our Discord on their Direct Service Garage Door page on Tuss Talk with Ty. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. Their link is provided for you down below. And, of course, the Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzeria. Hey, you may not want to go to Bud Walton. I don't know why if you had the opportunity, but you may not want to go to Bud Walton when Purdue comes to town on October 28th. They're going to have the game on. And if they don't, you can ask them, and they'll put it on for you. What a great place to sit and eat pies, drink some local IPAs, and watch Razorback basketball kick things off. Well, not really, because it's your last exhibition game. Alcorn State's when it gets real. But, again, shout out to them. What is going on? Are we under attack? What the hell was that? So, yeah, Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzeria, located on Emma Street here in Springdale, Arkansas. This has been one of the wildest lives. Here's our matchups. The red team's going to be L. Ellis, Devo Davis, Joseph Pinion, Dennis J. Harris, Chandler Lawson, Jalen Graham, and Lawson Blake. Keon Menefield, Layden Blocker, Khalif Battle. I'm really excited to see Khalif Battle. Tremont Mark, Jeremiah Davenport, Bay Fall, Makai Mitchell, Cade Arbogast are on the white team. Yeah, so excited to hear about what happens. Again, unfortunately, we're not gonna get any visuals unless someone. I think we had someone in our Discord offer to record some footage and then send it back to us. That'd be really cool. So we'd greatly appreciate that. Yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, again, these are guys. It's hard to take, especially basketball scrimmages. It's I don't know. Maybe you probably get more. No, you do. You get more out of a basketball scrimmage than you do a football scrimmage. Absolutely, because obviously that's football is it's 11 on 11, set plays, set designs, set formations. That's different. I mean, I know they do something similar in basketball, but you get at least an idea, raw talent-wise, what these guys can do. I remember Connor Vanover's first scrimmage, and he knocked down like 5 threes. You guys remember that? He knocked down – it was like 5 or 6 threes. It was insane. We never really got to see that. So you kind of take it with a grain of salt. But, again, I'm curious about everybody. I mean, yeah, I could go down the list. Khalif Battle is someone I'm keeping an eye on. Tremont Mark, Jeremiah Davenport. And then for the veterans, Jalen Graham – in Devo. I don't know if we're going to see Brazil tonight or not. I don't know. we'll see. I hope if we got to see him tonight, that would be absolutely huge. If Arkansas got to see him tonight, that would be big. That would mean that now they're kind of caught up on schedule, right? If I support Patreon, can I see pod? Oh, do you mean are you talking about the Stephen Hamner? Yeah, man. Yeah, it's there. You go to the, here, I'll send you the link. You just go to, here you go. I'll share it. You just go to that Patreon and it's there. So if you want to join Patreon, that's where you can catch the Stephen Hamner. I don't know that I'll ever make that video public or not. Typically, I keep that stuff there just for Patreon people. Ty, SEC probably will show Kentucky blue-white game when Arkansas been better than them the last 3 years. Are they going to show it? Wouldn't that be some bullshit? That would be some bullshit, wouldn't it? No one wants to talk about 2015, us starting 2 and 3. Yeah, but that team had a I don't know, you knew they were going to be fine. This year the offensive line, like you're going into week 6 and they're talking about a complete musical chairs up front on the offensive line. It's a different scenario, Mike. I hear you. I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, anything can happen, but this does reek of like, and I'm not comparing. I mean, Sam is 5 times the coach Chad Morris was at Arkansas, but it reeks of that kind of like, boy, there's some shit going on that offensive line. We didn't have that in 2015. Like, we had a pretty good idea. I'm not saying they didn't swap anybody. I'm not saying they didn't have to make some changes and some adjustments. They certainly did. But we kind of knew it was coming, and we knew that they were going to it was going to come together to some extent. This is a little bit different scenario. I'm not saying it's impossible. We'll have to wait and see. Lone Sportsman Outfitter says not going to see Brazil. Probably not. I would say no. I would say probably not. But again, if you did see him tonight, you'd feel a hell of a lot better. But listen, what really matters, honestly, is are we going to see him? I imagine we're going to see him against Purdue. Maybe that's his moment where he kind of comes out and we get to see him and he balls out. Boy, that's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because they've got themselves a beast over there at Purdue, by the way. That'll be fascinating to see if we get some Brazil. Starfield is awesome, Ty. I'm not saying it's not. I like it. I like Starfield. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, is it Fallout or Elder Scrolls good? No. Those 2 games are like goated, or those franchises are goated. Starfield's got a little ways. It's going to be a game you're going to put hundreds of hours in over a span of time and not realize it, because it is. I think it's good enough to play like that. Bobby Swain says blocker is going to be special. I'm telling you, man, I'm really excited about all these guys. Pinion is going to be someone too, and I feel like the conversation has completely shifted away from Pinion, but there's been a lot of talk about how much more improved he's been. I wonder if he kind of turns into more of a more consistent 2-way player on the floor. That freshman to sophomore leap is typically the biggest leap, no matter the sport, for a lot of players. Pinion has it in him to be a monster, and we know he can strike from that corner pocket, baby. We know he's all about the corner pocket trace, and I'm all about it. I'd love to see him just go off in all these exhibition games, show us some consistency, and then obviously carry that into the regular season. But Joseph Pinion is someone to keep an eye on. Khalif Battle, I'm all about Khalif Battle, man. And I do this every year. I cling to like 2 players, and then they end up kind of being average. But I don't know. There's something about Battle, watching him. I think he could end up being your best scorer or one of the best scorers on this roster. Again, Jalen Graham is another one, a guy who I think a lot of people are expecting that leap. He was more of kind of a spurt offensive guy, right? Like, we'd get moments of him just, wow, what he could do on the offensive end of the floor. He can get you 6 quick points off the bench, and then he would disappear both ends of the floor. I remember Musselman kind of talking about his defense a little bit. is that an area where maybe he's closed the gap a little bit compared to the rest of that? Well, at the time, I mean, it's not fair to compare it to the previous roster, but what level of defense is he going to play this year? We're going to see a little bit better effort. It wasn't always bad. I feel like he had a game or two where he was pretty solid on the defensive or on the defensive side of the floor. Davenport's another one I know people are excited to see. I mean, they have some size. I mean, it's not the greatest size. It's more about length. I mean, I've told you guys it's not always just about height. Sometimes you got to talk about length. You're gonna have Brazil, Bayfall, who I think will get some time. Mitchell, who's a 6'10" guy. I mean, they've got a couple 6'10s, and Jalen Graham's a 6'9", borderline. I've been told he's a hair under 6'10", but I've also heard he's probably closer to 6'8". But Jalen Graham is someone who's got some reach. He's got some length. And Devo's he's going to play that. He's going to do well, even though he's a guard. He does it all. We know he morphed into a two-way player last year. Now, it wasn't all year long, and there were certainly some questions, but there was a moment in time last year where he was easily the best two-way player for Arkansas. Now Anthony Black could turn it on every once in a while, and it's always nice to have a guard of his size and his talent level, but I don't know that you don't have an Anthony Black on this roster. What you do have, or a Nick Smith, but we didn't really get to ever see the best of Nick Smith last year, unfortunately. And you do have Bayfall and Layden Blocker, and again, Bayfall's going to be your 16 guy. There's another guy. Like, is he gonna step into a role where maybe you can rely on him to come in and play underneath well, come in off the bench, or can he fight his way onto the floor? I don't know. I'm not pushing any agenda here. I don't know. We know Musselman's going to play his 8-9 guys. That's going to be his rotation. Can Bayfall work his way in? And I imagine, because again, they're not loaded down with 6'10", 6'11", 7-footers. They're not loaded down with that. Realistically, you have two guys you expect to probably start with that kind of size and length. So Bayfall is going to be a very important piece. So yeah, I am very optimistic about this team. Again, it feels similar to the first year when Arkansas went to the Elite Eight. I said that year going into the season, this has the feel of that Sweet 16. They just feel like a Sweet 16 Elite Eight team. I think I put them in the Sweet 16 is what I said. And when you consider Arkansas hasn't sniffed the Sweet 16 in quite some time, I did have a couple people, I had two people DM me like, ain't no way, blah, blah, blah. And they did. They went further than I expected. So this has a similar feeling to that. And, of course, for me, it starts with getting Devo, Brazil. I like Graham coming back, man. I like Graham coming back because I think offensively he can be a nuisance, right? Again, you talk about spurt ability. He came off the bench a couple times last year, and he got you a quick, 4, 6, maybe 8 points. I don't remember what his season high was. I feel like he had 1 or 2 games where he really, really went off on the offensive end. But for him anyways. But he's got that spurt ability in him, and I hope maybe he's turned his game into something where we can expect that, expect a certain level of consistency. They're in really good shape. Again, you combine the experience, the talent, they're just in really good shape. Hey, shout out to Jeremy D. Robertson for joining the $8 Patreon, the $8 Club. Welcome, Jeremy D. Robertson. I appreciate you. I just got the alert on my phone here. Devo's the heart of this team. Man, would I be as excited without Devo? Probably. I mean, depending on, obviously, that's another body you got to get out of the portal. I don't think I would. I mean, because Devo, and that's very well put, he's the heart and soul of this team. Sure would make us feel better, but he's valuable. But he's too valuable to risk. Okay, but I hear you, Lone Sports. Hear me out. I think part of the issue with Nick Smith, it was a square peg, round hole, and they didn't have, when he came back from his injury, I think they probably would like to have played another 10 games before they had him back. Like, you wish he would have come back sooner. I mean, I hear you, and I don't disagree. I'm not saying rush him back. You don't want to risk further injury because of an exhibition game. All I'm saying is it would make you feel better about, okay, he's warmed up enough and he's good enough that he's healthy enough that you could put him in an expedition situation. You can go out and play him in an exhibition game. That would be big. I'm not saying rush him out there. I don't think he should start. But if you can get 5 minutes tonight where he just comes out, shows that he could still move around and do his thing, it'll give the staff probably a little bit more confidence, the players around him a little bit more confidence, right? Create a little bit more buzz too. But again, the health thing does come first. But I mean, you can make the argument there are guys that at this point in time in the year, you want to see them on the floor a little more. What's up, Bot? How you doing, man? You want to see them get those opportunities so that way they get warm before the season, right? Before the actual season. They're getting warmed up. You don't want to just throw them in. I hope Graham gets some good minutes this year. I don't think there's a player in college that can guard him one-on-one. Man is a walking bucket. He's got it in him, man, to be something special. He's not. We know he's a liability on defense. That's why he lost a lot of minutes. You could tell there was a hesitation by Musselman to play him in certain situations. So, yeah, I mean, just to close out, I don't want anyone to think I'm out here saying you need to throw him out there. Absolutely not. If he's not ready, you don't play him. But if he's ready, and I know I think what they said last week was they want him to be, he's 100%. He wants to be 110%. I'm just saying I don't know that you want to play too conservative there. You want him to get going, right? You want him to get going so he's right back in it, and then all of a sudden you've got week one and you're ready to go. You're not having to break him in during the season. You have 3 opportunities. And, again, I don't think he'll play tonight. I don't. But we'll see. I mean, again, October 20th, UT Tyler, another exhibition game inside Bud Walton, and then Purdue on the 28th, 8 days later. So hopefully you get a couple of opportunities to get him ready for the regular season. And listen, I know we're going to say the same thing. If he hasn't played by then, we're going to hear the same thing. Well, Alcorn State, we don't want to rush him in. It's like, well, okay. But to be fair, you do have some interesting matchups coming up, like November 29th, you got Duke coming to town. God dang, man. Have you heard the ticket price or the price on those tickets? November 29th, 8:15 p.m., Duke. Holy crap. Could you imagine if this game was on a Saturday? So all I'm saying is I'd like to have him back maybe before they play. I think they start things off in the Bad Boy Mowers battle. I think they start off against Stanford. Is that? I had the notes here. Yes. Yeah, Stanford. I'd like to have him back. But he's got opportunities, right? Alcorn State, Gardner-Webb, Old Dominion, UNC Greensboro. You're going to have opportunities to get him in there. If he doesn't play at all during the exhibition games, would I be a little bit concerned? Maybe a little. Like, okay, he didn't play at all in that span of time from October 4th to the end of the month, even though we were told he was 100%. Okay. That might be a little strange, but as long as we see him at some point. But again, I'd love to get him going before you play Stanford, before you go play in that battle for Atlantis. And then you have we've got Oklahoma again in the BOK Center in Tulsa. I like the schedule, man. I like it a lot. Auburn's coming back on January 6th. That's when you start things off in SEC play. You're at Georgia. When do they play Ole Miss? January 24th. That'll be an interesting game. Just because of what they did at the HC spot, who they hired. Kentucky, January 27th. And then, unfortunately, you have to start off at Missouri. But I'm good with that because that means you get to close out at home against Missouri in the home and home. Yeah, man. And then March Madness begins March 21st. And you have the SEC tournament shortly before that, March 13th. So, no problem. Hey, I appreciate you, Jeremy. You're the man. Thank you so much. If you guys want to join Patreon, again, the link is provided for you down below. We're coming up on 52 minutes. I can't wait to see Brazil. I'm telling you, man. I don't want to rush him. I don't. And if he's not ready, don't play him. But fans are so excited to see him. Battle limped off in warm-ups trying to get... What? Are you serious? Bro, what? He limped off? Are you serious? Why does this happen when I stream? Why does this happen when I stream? Hold up. You can't be serious. Just maybe he just kind of had like a little slight sprain. You got to be kidding me. No one's confirming in chat yet. Anyone in Discord talking about it? You got to be kidding me, dude. You have to be kidding me. I was just sitting here. I'm not going to mention another player all year. I'm not going to mention another player. I'm just going to say that guy. I'm not even going to say the number. I'm going to say that guy. You know, the guy. Let me just search up. Latest. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter. Well, I hope that's BS. Oh, someone does ask here, did Khalif Battle get hurt? Do we have confirmation on this? Is anybody seeing it? Could be an ingrown toenail. Who knows? I mean, you're not wrong, Leslie. What's going on? What happened? I just pretend I didn't hear that. There you go. Man. I don't see it confirmed anywhere. I mean, you guys know it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Well, we're just going to have to wait for updates, I guess. Man, that sucks. I hope that's BS. I hope that's... If it is real, hopefully it's nothing serious. All right. All right. Game time. It's coming up soon. I'm sure we'll have updates in Discord or maybe someone's there and they'll give us some updates. So, yeah. All right. Shout out to Patreon supporters. You guys know who you are. Of course, the sponsors, Direct Service Overhead and the Garage Door, or Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company, and the Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzeria. They on ESPN. No, they're not on ESPN. You're going to have to wait for Purdue, Cameron. Purdue will be the next. That'll be the first game that we get to see on television this year. I just signed in and hearing Battle is injured. I don't know if it's true or not. I can't get confirmation. Hopefully it's not. All right, we'll have some updates on Friday. We'll break down Ole Miss on Friday. I'll tell you what I think. And Arkansas will get an upset on Friday. Might be an interesting conversation. Again, if you're a Patreon supporter, only you can prevent forest fires. And you can go check out Patreon. I've got the Stephen Hamner Patreon conversation interview up just for you, just for Patreon support. So all you gotta do is go to Patreon /Tuss Talk with Ty. And there you go. So, and I already posted the link in chat. I'll do it again really quick. If you want to join Discord, I really should have these just primed and ready to go, you know. Copy. Autobots. I can't do it anymore. I can't do Optimus Prime anymore, guys. I don't know why. Autobots, roll out. I can't do it. I'm just not as good. There's what was that? Discord. That's Discord. Then I got Patreon. If you want to join, you want to watch that interview, you can do it right there. All you got to do is sign up. Okay, I'll talk to you guys on Friday. Again, going to break down Ole Miss a little bit. I appreciate you. Make sure you like on your way out. Make sure you like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow, Friday. I'll see you Friday.